I don't know how many of you know it, but Donald Trump, in the presence of his agenda and everything else, is all exposure. And I knew it when he was campaigning. When I told my family, my friends, I said, this president or this guy, Mr. Trump, whatever he has got going on, whatever it could be, whatever private thing or whatever it is, his whole, in totality, who he is as a man and as him governed, he's going to expose the government. When you talk about something as big as immigration in its totality, and you bring up the conversation, the elephant in the room that nobody wants to discuss, especially the Democratic Party, it's exposure. And it's linked to everything. It is. It really is. And people don't know. I notice a lot of people don't realize how important that is, that you can bring up a conversation that links to everything. See, when Barack Obama was president, his agenda did not link to everything. It was a form of fashion. It was an agenda and basically a benign and neglect policy. It was a form of fashion. This is the Democratic linen. And it was about, oh, I have a family and I'm going to kumbaya. Everybody's going to be great. We're going to do these things for people that's in our country. We're not going to really look who they are. We're just going to change laws. The president talked about America in its totality, America in what it looks like out behind the curtains. So this is exposure. When you start talking about things that expose things, it opens discussions. And it even opened discussions for Black Americans to have in terms of how we exist in the political arena. This man is not only, he come off as racist and he may have some racist attributes, but you got to understand humans. You got to understand the science of a people and his whole self, what he brought to the government. He wasn't a politician. He was a businessman. And politicians have been trained to speak in heavenly politician language. And Donald Trump was not a politician. He's learning to be, but he wasn't. And we saw him learning to be because a lot of things he pulled back on that we were ready for him to do. That's because he's not a politician. So he didn't really understand how to use his presidential powers, if you ask me. He thought people would work with him and they would use logic, and that's not what they were doing. Why would you use logic when you've already manipulated a society? Speaking for the Democratic Party and some Republicans. Why do you think President Donald Trump lost some of his base and some of his cabinet? They were not ready to expose that which they manipulated as dignitaries and lawmakers. And it's all connected to immigration. And I spoke of this before. If you look at the Black organizations, Foundation of Black organizations like the NAACP and the CBC and what have you, they are imposters. They are representing a people they know nothing about. They're not even true, really natives of the country. They have a history of another origin, and they are in the seats to represent people that are native to this society, that are in the history of it. They're representing people who they really can't really take total concern to because they don't have the experience. People from all over the world in our government society. Because the Democratic Party, not only the Democratic Party, high, heavenly speaking politicians, people who manipulate the system, who wrote lawmakers, they are people who, like they say, the Democratic Party, like the KKK started it. There was a KKK party. I mean, they are people who want power and they want to keep you confused and keep you thinking that, hey, look, this is the way it should be. This is what we're going to do. We're going to project something on you, but we're not going to let you come to a real We're not going to let you come to a reality of what's really here. And I don't know if the President Trump really understood, or even if he knew what he was saying. But people who are politically aware understood that this is going to be a transparent government. This is going to be transparent government, and that's what I said. And it is. It's speaking to every single thing. And we're starting to actually see how desensitized a lot of people are, especially Black Americans. Now, a lot of us are waking up, and we like a sleeping giant. We understand we are Americans. We have a lot of power and a lot of connection if we use it in terms of a unit. Because when you're speaking to the government, you have to speak in a unit, in a power source. You can't speak in one person speaking. It has to be an ideology of a group that you can uphold the law or make the Constitution wear gloves for you. And this is what this is linked to. I don't know if I'm speaking over your head or not, but I understand what I'm saying. And the policies which Donald Trump went with is a lot of it is in terms of the tax cuts and the financial department it goes to rich people. It does favor the wealthy and the capital, of course, because that's who he is. However, his social politics favor Americans in its totality. Like, we concerned about us. Like, we have to make sure we're not taken advantage of, type of thing. We don't want a communist government. We don't want people, and that's serious. It touches home with us. So now, if the conversation is open, and that conversation is open, we can have it in so many different ways. So America is now able to come to the table and apologize for its sins. The conversation is able to be had. Because somebody basically, if you want to say it, let something leak out, which is a good thing. So they didn't want Trump in there, the part of his base that left him out, and especially Democratic Party, because Democratic Party got the benign and neglect. They wanted to keep things hidden and keep you entrapment as a citizen, especially slave descendants. Now we know how to fight, but a lot of us don't. A lot of us are so upset with what we have endured under white supremacy and under the fact that we historically were servants for free labor and experienced a lot of hardship. We don't like the tone of any white person that's in leadership and don't understand the broader perspective. We don't understand how to go with something to get something. In business, that's what you do. You haggle. And you have like investors, and you guys are going with certain agendas, even if you can't stand each other, but it's for the greater good. The president may be a racist. I don't think he is. I really don't. But if he is, he's transparent. He can be reached. The thing with the Mueller thing and all of that, it's not working. It's not working. And I'll tell you why. Because the thing that Hillary Clinton did, cracking open people's emails and all that stuff, he got so much stuff on these people. It's a joke for what they're trying to do. And the reason they want President Donald Trump to be impeached, which will not happen, is simply because he's showing that he's exposing their sins. The Democratic Party has not been a friend to people, to foundation of Black people. Yeah, people of color, so to speak. They have not been a friend. They have a policy that is so sinister. It's the benign and neglect, policy. And if you're going to be something, be open about it so I can transparently know what that is. I've heard a wise tale say, you cannot learn anything until you deal with the truth. You can't come to me and apologize for something until you know exactly what you've done. We can't talk about your behavior as a bad habit and you subconsciously doing it unless you can admit it. And I think that the president is closer to that than any president I've seen in my lifetime. Whether he wants to be or not. This is the linen of his intellect as an individual. And to put it in policy is something that we favor. Now, of course, Black Americans, we want to be repaired in terms of being reparations and government policy. We want to be written down in the right respect in terms of the political arena, and we should be, because we are like natives. We're people who have been the sole providers. We're people who have done. We've been projected and positioned as people who have struggled to build something as beautiful as the United States. I mean, really, we've been in we were forced in an institution that made this country completely wealthy and safe. We fought all the wars here. I mean, so when he talk about Black Americans, he usually say stuff like, well, Black Americans' employment got the best employment throughout history. We got the numbers up. He cannot say, well, Black people committing crimes, and I want you to take them to jail, and I'm writing crime bills. He don't have that rhetoric. His rhetoric is about illegal immigration. And illegal immigration is a real big problem, because what they have done in terms of being illegal, they have came to this country and tried to turn this country into what they want it to be. And it's dangerous. These countries they come from are war-torn. They're in poverty. They're out of order. The mannerisms are crazy. And they come here to copy us. But in government, they don't know how to govern in terms of the decency and the laws which we have. They come from countries where they don't have the same protection. They don't abide by the law. A lot of countries don't even have police and stuff in areas. They don't have we have the rule of law, and we shouldn't be afraid of the rule of law, because I'm gonna tell you something else about the rule of law. The rule of law also states what we should have at the business of slavery. So if we learn to uphold the rule of law, then that would favor us, actually, as a matter of fact. And Black people get scared when you talk about the rule of law, because they've been in police situations where white people or people from a dominant society and put the law. And because of Black people being followers of gangster and hip hop, and the media has told Black people you are a person that's a criminal or a crime, we think the rule of law is against us. So we don't look at it in a broader perspective. And that's not what's going on right now. There's people who have broke the law worse than any Black person, foundational Black person in this country. They're in our government society and should be in prison. And they get away with it. See, you don't understand. The law has been projected on you in such a way you have fear of it. And that's post-traumatic slave syndrome in terms of a society. That's what that is. So you got to realize there's people who broke the law. There's politicians breaking the law that the president was talking about. And it's not going to work. We stick together. We're going to get this changed. We don't first, and it burns me up to have people in our country. That really is something major. Black people out standing in the way of it. So we don't need to be doing all of that. Have people in our countries and going around talking about, hey, the law, they should be taken care of, and you running around here and you don't have a clue what kind of system that has dominated you as a unit. So allow the president to bring America to a space where it's introduced to, something a little bit more representative of you as a native. I understand that. I don't know if you did. I don't know if this talk came right to you, but I understand that. Black people understand that. American citizens understand that. This is our home. We have to protect it. That's all it is to it. If we keep letting it go, these people are dangerous. They'll take over our government. They are not playing. These people really want to infiltrate our government. Now, this is not a game. They come from countries, and there's thousands and millions of those people. And we have people on the 14th Amendment, which is very dangerous. That was for slave descendants, not for them. Thank you for joining me.